Okay, good evening, everybody. From our home here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, to all of your homes, various parts of the country, and I'm really wanting to kind of scroll through and see who's here, but I know I've got a talk to give, so I can't do too much of that. But wherever you may be, sitting, I hope in a comfortable and peaceful place for this time together. Once again, just to reiterate, this is, there's only a wall between me and our family household, a wall and a door, and all that, lively family business is going on. And so just wanting you to know that this is just coming from a very ordinary household, and Zen, as you've often heard, I'm sure those of you who are interested in Zen, that it's, really its expression is in ordinary life. And although we may explore what would seem on the face of it quite sort of esoteric things, this whole realm of awakening, for example, actually, it's really found and lived and embodied in the most ordinary aspects of our life. And the whole purpose, really, you could say, of this practice and training is to be able to see what infinite treasures we have in every moment of ordinary life, not in some other kind of existence. This very moment. Granted, right now is perhaps a little odd because you're looking at a computer screen, listening to some guy talking about something called Zen. It's not exactly what most people would call ordinary, but nevertheless, you're sitting as you are on a cushion and a chair in a room with walls, under a fan, under a light. It's ordinary. This is our life. This is how it's showing up right now, this moment, just as it is. So our training in Zen is not to take us away from this ordinary moment to some marvelous condition where this becomes unimportant and somehow we're transported out of this world that is beautiful and also full of suffering. Not at all. The whole trajectory of the training is more and more here, just as it is. Realizing more clearly, sometimes in sudden moments, but in the end, we hope in a more stable way, that this moment is the infinite gift. This is, in the biblical phrase, the pearl of great price. In Zen terminology, the one bright pearl. This is it. The one bright pearl is not something we find down the road, elsewhere. It is only here. If it's not here, it's not somewhere else. So what I'm planning to do tonight is sort of, in a way, continuing the theme of what do koans have to teach us about our current situation with the pandemic, with a kind of isolation going on, and also really the other way around. What does the virus have to teach us about koans, about our practice, about our life, about our very existence? And I'm hoping that it'll come across that maybe there's a so much sort of confluence that we don't need to even tease them apart. So the koan that I chose actually to talk about, I have to tell you, it wasn't that easy. I had various sort of, mini projects for tonight floating around over the last few days. And usually I get a solid signal. This is the one, And actually, I didn't really this time. But it's such a beautiful koan that I think it doesn't really matter how it comes from me, you'll receive it. You can't fail to, really. It's coming straight to you from Master Unmon, Unmon, Cloudgate, 864 to 949. His monastery is still there, Cloudgate, in China. He was a remarkable human being, very, very clear, did a lot of practice, a lot of clarifying, a lot of sort of stabilizing practice of his awakening, very deep awakening, and great, great, compassionate willingness to try to help others sort of come to see.
Can't hear Henry. Can't hear Henry.
Thank you.
Where is your true self? I want to just check. Am I coming through okay?
Now you were lost for a few minutes.
Oh man. Okay. I'm back now. Yeah? Okay.
Yes, but I couldn't hear you.
Hey, why is Ellen talking? Can you mute Ellen, host? Sorry, Ellen, but it's supposed to be hosts only. Sarah, will you just give me a sign if you lose me? Yeah? Okay. I'm sorry, folks. Let me just repeat. I think was it Unmon's great words that got lost? Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, they're coming right back at you. I'm going to say it quicker this time in case it goes again. Unmon said, medicine and disease correspond to each other. Medicine and disease match each other. In another translation, medicine and sickness cure each other. In another, medicine and disease quell each other. Our current Sambo Zen translation is medicine and disease correspond to each other. The whole earth is medicine. What is your true self? Or where is your true self? Now, please, let's just take a moment and just appreciate where this kind of speech is coming from. What kind of state is Unmon in to be able to say the whole earth is medicine? What is he living, seeing, feeling, experiencing that allows him to say the whole earth is medicine? Wherever I look, healing. Whatever I see, whatever I hear, whatever I touch, healing. Nothing but healing. Medicine. He is at home in a way that he can't not be. He's not in a conditional home. He's home in a way that is unconditional. Anything that arises is medicine. The whole earth, this whole existence is medicine. Please just take a moment to reflect on that remarkable statement. I mean, forget whether it's, how you receive it as a philosophical proposition, or something. Just what condition is this person speaking from? What state of mind and heart? What kind of life, what kind of way is he experiencing life to be able to say that? And say it in front of a lot of people. It's not like some throwaway remark. He's come into the hall to share, to help, to guide in the project that, from his point of view, is the most important thing, in the universe. Trying to help beings reach the state of unshakable peace that he's found, a real home that nothing can touch, even though it's infinitely touched. It's not like he's in some, lofty realm, other realm. If he were, it would be conditional. He'd need to be in that kind of, whatever that state might be. See what I mean? Then it would be a condition. It would have a condition. This has no condition. So, number one, that point, the whole earth is medicine. Number two, he says, medicine and disease correspond to each other. Where there's disease, there's medicine. Where there's medicine, there's a sickness. So if the whole earth is medicine, what is the disease? What is the sickness? Now, at a time like we're in right now, when, we've got this, this pandemic going on, of course, I'm sure you've all been reading, like I have, various different news, yes, but also various different points of view about it. Some people, wise and insightful people are kind of, feeling it's not a bad thing in some ways to hit the pause button on our heedless way of life, where we're so carelessly sort of trashing our home, and to pause in that, to be forced to, or to take this collective pause is in some ways a very good thing. Of course, it's one thing to say that, but it's another thing when you have very close relatives and family members who are dying from it. Actually, just as a piece of information, my own family, actually, not the closest family, but sort of just somewhat close. We've had a very serious situation with it in Europe. Someone already has died, and somebody else has been in intensive care and is still in intensive care. Somebody else actually just came out of intensive care. So it's not that it hasn't touched us, personally. And of course, many of you will have been touched by it, maybe in that kind of way, but in many other ways too, with serious compromise or loss of livelihood. It's a very painful, difficult situation for many. And that's, in part from the virus itself, and in part from the responses to it, that we have probably, I hope, rightly taken. Then there are some people who I've been reading, are sort of, saying, well, even these sort of, I'm not talking about sort of hardcore right-wing folks who think is not a real threat or something, but there are people who are very thoughtful people who actually think, we maybe aren't responding to it in the right way and it should be allowed to run its course or something. I don't know. Anyway, there are lots of different views about it, but suffice to say, it's a more vivid and real and visceral and present and pervasive sense of the actual fragility of our life as human beings. And, there is the painful side of that, and there is, in a certain regard, there can be positives. It's clear, actually, that there are people who are, I'm sure many of you, responding in very helpful, caring, concerned ways. Just a little thing, some of you probably know it, but hearing me now? Okay. You probably know about Joanne's. Did you hear me say that? No. Okay, Joanne's have got this challenge to make 100 million masks, and they've got to 44 million. They were on 18 million about 5 days ago, and they got to 44 million. The hobby needlework sort of, what do you call it? Haberdashery kind of store, chain store, Joanne's. We are involved a little bit with them because Claire, sews a bit and knits a lot and things like that, Everybody chipping in to do their bit there, and you probably heard about Brooks Brothers. Did you hear about that? That their 3 factories are being set aside to make masks and gowns. They're turning over all their machinery to make, I think it's something like 250,000 masks a day or something like that for medical personnel. So people coming around to help is really, it's a beautiful thing, because, what is I'm going somewhere with this, by the way. It's what is the disease? What is the disease? Well, in early Buddhist terms, the disease is threefold. It's basically greed, desire, craving. It's ill will, hatred, aversion, and it's delusion, ignorance, misunderstanding. And surely those 3 so-called poisons are conveyed right through the Buddhist tradition in its many forms, Zen being one of them. But there is a tendency in Mahayana Buddhism to simplify. And Zen is one of the Mahayana schools. And Sometimes in Mahayana, simply the disease is delusion. Delusion. What is the core delusion? Well, I think you know what I'm going to say, because you're all, serious Zen practitioners, pursuers of the way, and, well, you may not all be Zen, but you're meditators, and serious about practice and life, and you've read, you've heard that somehow there's a problem at the core, something rotten in the state of Denmark, as Hamlet, Shakespeare had it, there's something awry in the middle of things. And what that is, of course, is separation. The self that separates, that makes itself separate, that makes all things separate. The separate self. So this situation can be one that pushes and promotes and generates less separate self-based activity. And we're seeing that, Now, from the point of view of koans, they are all invitations to sort of pass through the gateway of the sense of separation, have it dissolve, and see what's on the other side of it. And, what's on the other side of it is, of course, already here. I don't know why I said of course. Well, because it's Zen. Zen does stuff like that. What we're looking for is already here. Okay. Can you just bear with me 1 second? I'm going to just check what's going on this computer. Well, it says it's connected to the Ethernet. Are you hearing me now? Okay. Well, now I can't remember what I was saying, and I don't know what to say next. So let's see. Oh yeah. If the whole earth is medicine, what's the disease? Well, we've been getting to that. The disease is this sense of separation. So in the last line of the Koan, Unmon says, what is your true self? Or in another translation, where is your self? So the whole earth is medicine. Medicine and disease correspond to each other. So if the whole earth is the medicine, what's it corresponding to? Something to do with separateness. And where is your true self? What is your true self? Well, we might think our true self is something in here looking out, some point, center of knowing, of experiencing, of agency that tries to exert itself on the world, so to speak, tries to manage the world. We might think that, but that's actually the disease. From Unmon's point of view, that is the problem. That if only we could be cured of that, what would we then find our true self is? Well, precisely the boundless healing, the infinite healing of all things, of this whole earth, of this whole entire phenomenon that I call my life, but I, in a way, shouldn't call it my life. Really depends what I mean by my. It's not mine the way I may have thought. Not at all. Quite the reverse. There is no possessor in here. When that possessor, that knower, that agent, that experiencer, that separator is gone, then what's my real self? What does my real self have to do with this whole earth? What is it that earth and self correspond to each other? Whole earth and separation match each other, cure each other, heal each other. What does that mean? Well, if you try to think it through, it won't work. This is about an experience, the experience, here and now, now, of just releasing the separateness. Just releasing it. It opens and it vanishes. And what is there then? It's one. It's one unboundedness. One single unboundedness. Real. The real. Now, from that point of view, is the virus a sickness or a medicine? Is it separate? What would it be? How would we receive this situation if it was clear that we are not separate from the virus, that it is not in fact some kind of enemy out there? What if we are seeing like Unmon? The whole earth is medicine, no exceptions. It's a very different approach to life from the managing, planning, manipulations, schemings of a separate identity. Always concerned with making things okay, keeping things okay. If we pursue, if we train in deep wisdom, deep insight, the path of really serious awakening, of really, when I say serious, I mean not just having a nice experience at a weekend retreat because somebody's worked out a nice way to play with the mind. I mean, actually turning things around so that we, and also, by serious awakening, I mean, not just having a flash of an awakening experience and sort of thinking, well, I'm done now. I'll dine out on that. I'll put up my shingle as a spiritual teacher, or I'll just sort of whiz through the Koans if I can find someone to do that with me and get some kind of endorsement. No, actually pursuing, going deeper and deeper and deeper, getting clearer and clearer and clearer, and not sitting around talking about Koans. actually sitting with them, letting them work on us, letting them do their profound medicine on us. Koan after koan has the same capacity to radically turn around from the separate separator. The separate separator cannot understand a koan. Koans are speaking from, they're rising from the one. When the separate separator has gone, it's not just a sort of subtraction and extraction and things stay the same. No, you come to find a very different way of experiencing. Although that's perhaps only part of the process, because as I said at the beginning, ordinary life. The ideal in Zen is not to be noticeably sort of more awakened than anybody else. It's to be leading an ordinary life in an ordinary way, and your heart may be filled with love and joy and peace and a wish to help. But you shouldn't see it too conspicuously. You don't want to be, there's stories of a future Zen master, sitting, and some god came and sprinkled rose petals on him, and he was appalled. He realized he had a long way to go if he was noticeable like that and could be seen as some sort of seriously, beautiful spiritual person. He had a long way to go, and he went and redoubled his efforts in training. So have I conveyed? Let me just see if I have. Excuse me a moment. I want to look at my notes. Yeah, just the last point, really. Well, I've been talking about the home that Unmon is, home that Unmon has become, that he is so at home in the world. He wears the world wears him. He's in love with it. The whole earth is my medicine, the whole earth is my true self. There's the conditionality of that separator has gone. So how did he get there? Well, he sat a lot, yes, but he also had some pretty intense guidance from various key masters. Seppo was one, and Bokushu was another. He actually is supposed to have had his foot broken by one of them when he put his foot in the door trying to see the master, and the master kept shutting the door, not wanting to see him. And there are, strange ways of teaching in the Zen tradition sometimes. And one of these times, Unmon was so determined to get into the room to see Bokushu that he put his foot in the door, and Bokushu slammed it. Anyway, and apparently it broke his foot. And actually, there's a story that in that moment of great pain, he had a profound awakening. So there's disease. That disease is that pain, is that, broken foot, sort of foot not at ease. And yet, what medicine? He stopped being separate. The medicine broke right through, Which was it? Medicine was a disease. Can you actually say? But that's not really I'm not saying that's the way to find Unmon's home, is to drop a rock on your foot. No, not at all. Just the sitting and the guidance and the work with the koans, time after time, gradually, gradually coming back. Those of us sitting with Mu, gradually coming back to the first koan, Mu, coming back again and again, until something in us stops resisting and just lets it be there. And gradually that same thing sort of drops away and sitting becomes incredibly beautiful. There's just the sitting, there's the wall, and there's the koan. It's so beautiful. Getting into very, very deep stillness, quiet, ease, lightness of spirit, very, very little being carried, nothing left really, just sitting as nothing with nothing. And this little sound of Mu going on in the mind if you're working with Mu, and the wall, and that's it. It couldn't be simpler. It's so beautiful. When Bodhidharma sat in his cave all those years facing the rock wall, it was so beautiful. It wasn't some hardship for him. He was immersed in a boundless beauty. He was part of a boundless beauty. And we all are, actually. And our sitting is an opportunity to discover that more clearly. You can clearly experience boundless beauty in sitting. It's so sweet. It's so wonderful. But you have to be kind of, there is a flavor of sort of, humility really, that brings that on, where you're just not looking for anything else. It's all good enough as it is. Nothing more is needed. It's such a beautiful thing to set aside the ordinary apparent needs and habits of need, probably aren't really need, a lot of them, to set aside and sort of have nothing except sitting, and this may be a time, when, I'm hearing it actually from a number of people that they're sitting more these days. Whatever they were doing before, they're doing more. And why not let yourself have a kind of what they used to call an ango, a 3-month more intense practice period. Maybe it's not 3 months, I don't know, but whatever it is, these weeks, let yourself sit more. And whatever your normal is, ramp it up a bit. I was on a call with Japan the other day, and one of my Dharma colleagues was saying he was sitting 7 periods a day, and he was radiantly happy. It's a marvelous thing when to be just the wall and the sitting and the koan. I would love it. I'd be really so happy if everybody could taste how beautiful it is. Just this little sound running through the mind, the Mu, or maybe you've got some other koan, simple little phrase is there, and the wall is there. And what else is there? What else? Wall, little phrase. Is there anything else there? Why not explore that? You may say, well, yeah, there's all these feelings and all these thoughts, and okay, keep sitting. Give it all a chance. Let the whole mind, body, heart complex settle. Let it become still. Let it sink. Let it expand. Let it become boundless. Let it become a clarity that has no end. Let it become a deep, deep, loving awareness that spreads and spreads and spreads and has no end. Who knows what it might become? We don't scratch the surface of this moment, this consciousness. Sitting is a chance to. It's an incredibly precious chance to use this incredibly precious chance called human life. And here we are, sort of pushed back, really. Home. First of all, there's the home that the lockdown is saying you sort of got to stay in. That kind of home. Then there's the home Unmon found. Then there's the home that we find when we're still at home. Maybe it's not so clear. Maybe there's a lot of debris and trash and old furniture and unneeded frozen pizzas knocking around or whatever, and dishes in the sink. And maybe it needs a bit of tidying up. Maybe it needs a bit of cleaning up. Fine, good project. What could be a better project? Why not take this project of being this human life, seriously and really tending it in the way that this practice encourages? And then, what comes out of that is an offering for others. That, here's a possible way of being at home. And it, they Thich Nhat Hanh taught once, that when the Vietnamese boat people were coming across, and there'd be 40 people in a tiny boat, and if they all panicked, it was a disaster. They'd capsize and sink, drown. And he said, but if one person stayed calm, it would spread. The calm would spread. And they'd make it. Just one person. It's the positive contagion, so to speak, of practice, of inner clarity, being home. Seeing from that perspective that whatever happens is medicine, can be received, can be taken in, and not only taken in but loved, and in fact is not either received or taken in, is already our real life. Okay, so the hope of a talk like this is just to really keep you sitting and keeping you enjoying your sitting. And if you're not enjoying it so much, going through a rough patch, it'll change. It'll clear through sitting. And I want you, please consider seeing if you can find that incredible beauty I'm talking about, of sitting, wall, practice, wall, the beautiful wall, sitting body and wall. Just see if you can find that wonderfully enjoyable beauty, and let these conditions that we're in not be pulling you away, pushing you in to practice. This is a sort of accelerated reality of what was already our real situation, just a little bit accelerated. We ordinarily have this sort of time pressure of uncertain about time of death. We ordinarily have it, and we somehow ordinarily are less cognizant of it. We ordinarily kind of think we know what's going on. Well, maybe, I don't know, I doubt it. This is a time when the reality of our uncertainty is more palpable. Let it exert its pressure and push you into more practice, more serious practice. Okay, so thank you very much indeed for listening and for being here together. It's wonderful to, to sit with you all. It's a great honor to be with you, and I hope this little offering is some help in days to come. I'm just going to note that we have these gatherings on Sunday, and as you heard, this Sunday there's a half day, so sit. I hope, please feel most welcome to come. Of course, I have been sort of trying to do a bit of Q&A on those Sundays, and this coming one there will also be some Q&A time. So if you have any questions arising out of this talk or anything else, practice associated with practice, Sunday, you can send it by chat, I think, once we're on, and I'll try to address it. Okay, thank you very much. Peace and blessings and wellness to you and all of your nearest and dearest.